Hello, welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Welcome to my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. Today, I'd like to go back and discuss this is actually the part 2 of what I was just discussing about what Jodisue Brown confessed to us a couple of weeks ago about the father of her children, her ex-partner, Andy Bernard. This is the case of Summer Moon Uta Wells. Summer is a 5-year-old girl who was reported missing from Rogersville, Tennessee, Hawkins County. This happened on the 15th of June 2021. Summer's father, Donald Wells, and her mother, Candice Bly, reported Summer missing. They said that Summer was last seen in the basement, but that is something they said later on. On the website of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, it still stands there when the Amber Alert was put up by the TBI with the help of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI. When the missing Amber Alert was put out, it stated clearly that Summer was last seen outside her house. The mother, Candice Bly Wells, who changed her name back to her maiden name, Candice Bly, on the 29th of June. Interestingly enough, it was the same day that she did that infamous interview with Donald Wells. And that was the first time that Candice Wells came out in public to do a public interview since her daughter was missing. Usually, what we see in missing cases is that the parents, obviously, if they're not guilty and if they have nothing to hide, they would usually come out the first chance that they get to search for their children. They would be running to the press, running around to anyone who gives them an ear, anyone who offers to give them help, and anyone who doesn't even offer to give them help. A concerned parent whose child is really missing, abducted, etc., would have definitely come out. It wouldn't have taken them 14 days. It doesn't make sense psychologically. It does not make sense at all. We had that famous missing case of Madeleine McCann, the British girl who was reported missing. She was abducted from a hotel in Algarve, Portugal. Many people around the world, that is the most famous missing case of all time up to today. It got the whole world's attention. People in UK and people in Portugal and in Europe and in the United States, Canada, Australia, wherever, everyone was in half off, 50-50. Some people were saying the McCains did something to their daughter, an accident happened, and they were covering up, and that's what people believed for 14 years. They were being, honestly, the McCains, although they are totally different to the Wells. The father's a heart surgeon and the mother is a doctor. So they both are high-class doctors. They went to Portugal with 9 other doctors, who were, most of them were couples, and there was one single doctor male doctor who was along with them. What I'm trying to say is these were people who were from a good social status, who had excellent jobs, they had money, they had a good life, but still they were being accused because obviously people believed that it was an accident, and through their negligence, because they left Madeline, who was 3 years old, and her two twin brothers, who were 1 year old, two twin brother and sister actually. They had two girls and one boy. Madeline was the oldest. Since they left them alone in the hotel to sleep, and they said they weren't far from their house, from the hotel, that they were eating out in the Tampa restaurant. So there was a lot of gaps with their timelining. That's what many people believed, that the McCains were to blame. But the reason I brought Madeleine McCain's case as an example is Kate McCain, the mother, and Jerry McCain, the father, never gave up on missing Madeleine McCain. Immediately when Madeleine was gone, the parents brought in the law enforcement in Portugal. The place wasn't the crime scene, and the place wasn't secured properly. Many people entered the room where the children were lost, where Madeline was last seen sleeping with her two twins. So to put it this way, there was a lot that was going on, so a lot of evidence got destroyed through that process. Point being, Madeline's parents never gave up on her. They were being bullied, harassed, terrorized by the world and by the public. There were many people who were supporting them, but there were more people who turned against them because the timelines kind of did not make sense. But Madeleine McCain's parents, Kate and Jerry, up to today, never gave up on their daughter. They held their hands and they went together as a couple everywhere, whether it was Portugal, whether it was UK, whether it was Scotland, whether it was Liverpool, and wherever they went. That proves to you that those are parents who have nothing to hide. At the start, I believe their timelines did not make sense because they still felt guilty up to today. I believe they feel guilty that child negligence happened then. They expected that they was in the most safest place in Portugal, Algarve, and unluckily, the case is finally solved. The guy who did it, Christian Brenner, in Germany, was a pedophile, a predator, and it took so many years for the truth to finally come out. So the McCain's, his name has been cleared, but the poor daughter is assumed to be dead by the German police and by the UK Metropolitan too, and the Scotland Yard, which is one of the best police forces in the world. They're just called the Scotland Yard, but they're in the UK, in London. So what I'm trying to say is the way the Wells have behaved from the start is totally different to the McCains. They kind of behaved like many guilty parents. This is for entertainment purpose only, guys. But this is not only my belief, we can clearly see that The Wells's interview sounded a lot like the of famous interview of Trezell and Jacqueline West in California City. These two cases, the Wells and the West, have a lot in common, besides the fact that the Wells were Summer's real parents, and the West adopted Sincere and Classic, aka Orrin and Austin. Things that they have in common is both of the West and the Wells took forever to do the interview, and they both said the same things mostly in the interviews when we compare them. Trezell said that's when it all played out. So did Dawn. Trezell said he went to fetch wood. He went in, he went out. He asked his wife, "Did you see the boy?" She said no. And he said no. And then he said he went outside and the boys were gone. Then we have Dawn and Candice who say, actually, let me make myself clear. Candice, who says, "I told the boys to look after Summer. She went downstairs to the basement to play with her toys. And I went to help my mom with the knee brace. And when I came back and asked the boys, where is their sister at? They said, Mom, she went downstairs to play with her toys." Candy said she called out for Summer. Summer did not answer. She went downstairs. She did not find Summer. She called out for Summer, and then she called Dawn, and Dawn said call law enforcement. Dawn says allegedly that he was at work. We have no proof of that. But we are not the TBI, we are not the FBI, so obviously we are just the public. We wouldn't know all the details. Thorough searches was conducted for Summer for a bit over 3 weeks, constantly, every day. A lot of manpower was put in. 160 law enforcements were involved from nearby areas. The Federal Bureau of Investigation are still involved. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation are still involved. Diving teams have conducted their part of searches. Aqua searchers helped too in the searches twice. We do understand there's a lot of terrain in that areas, but it still does not make sense about what could have happened to poor Summer Moonwood Wells. The last picture that was seen of Summer was Summer in the car. She did not look so right. She did not look so well. Being very mindful with what I say, but we could see Summer was very swollen. Her legs, her fingers, under her fingers, there was a bit dirt, but it looked more like under her eyes and under her fingers were really purple. The color was a bit different. God forbid she looked like a child, was either very dozed off and not in a healthy way. She looked like something really happened to Summer. And then we have that clip of Candice asking the person in the car, which till today we're not sure if that was Candy Hera, her mother, or Hunter. She says clearly, did she put her hand up? And the person said no. And she said, oh, that's what I thought. I personally believe till today that that clip was when they're on their way to, God forbid, I hate to say that, hiding Summer, getting rid of Summer. Something fatal must have happened to Summer. It could have been a secondary drowning. The possibility is there because Hunter said himself that Summer went under the water. He said for 20 seconds. He said it could be more. He said, I wouldn't know. Maybe she didn't even come out of the water. He said that clearly to Chris McDonald from the interview room. We could hear, I always mention that because I believe it's extremely important that Allison was coaching our son Hunter to say, when Chris asked Hunter, where were you when Candace called you to tell you that Summer was missing? And he looks at his mom and you can see his mom opening her mouth saying, the park, the park. She said that twice, and then he said exactly the same. He said he was in the park with his girlfriend. According to Candice's Hunter, his neighbors and Allison's neighbors, the neighbors said that they were in the park and Hunter and his girlfriend were not in the park, but Allison and her daughter was in the park. So this is really interesting. Then we have Allison saying that she took Hunter to his mental health counselor, his therapist. And I really wonder, did she have an appointment with the therapist before? Or did something happen that maybe Hunter was so traumatized that he needed to see the mental health team? Let's not forget, Hunter said that he had twisted tea, that's alcohol beverage, he was vaping, he was smoking, and he said he did not have any sleep that day. So you can imagine he must have been, we've heard that allegedly that he was out of it. So if he was so out of it, or even if he's had alcohol beverage drinks, whether it was one or two, and if he was on pills or anything, I'm sure the counselor, which is usually, we have our same clients like all the time unless we are sick or we are on a vacation and somebody else has to take over. But if it's a long time client, I mean patient, we call them clients to be professional, then it's usually one practitioner who deals with you. So I'm sure he has his own practitioner and she must have clocked on, she must have sensed that the boy is not right in his head, that he's been drinking. So I'm kind of surprised. I hope the TBI must have already investigated that part, and I hope they must have heard that interview of Allison saying that she took Hunter to the therapist. So I'm sure the therapist, yeah, by court, she will be called in. Even the mental health counselors, psychologists who are dealing with the boys after Summer was gone, they would have to give up or every conversation and everything will be recorded to the court. And they will be called into the courts and they will have to testify and say everything. Maybe the boys told them and everything Hunter told his therapist. So I hope that the TBI would get good information out of that. We are aware that the grand jury, Mr. Armstrong from Tennessee, said that he's helping the detective who's working in this case and he's helping the TBI with any questions or any legal procedures that they have, which is quite good. That just shows that they're trying to build a case, which is really good. I hope they're paying attention to Jodisue Brown and Andy and all these panel interviews that are going on. It may not mean anything for them, but it may mean everything for them. I think every little thing is important, all the interviews. I'm sure the TBI is aware of all the interviews that are going on. They said they watch everything on YouTube and Facebook, which is good, because then they need to follow the interview with Allison on the panel or on Prayer Gardens. saying that she took her son to the therapist. And she said that before too in other interviews. So I really hope that they come to a solution and find out what exactly happened to Summer Moon Utwells. But the reason that I believe it's not only Candice and Dawn, I believe that there are more people involved. Because that's to start with, that's the reason the TBI is involved. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation works against gang related crimes, uh, gang organization crimes, foul play, human trafficking. Anything is possible with these people here. The human trafficking part has never sat well with me, honestly, but it is a possibility too. But I believe more in what, this is my personal meaning, guys. I really believe in what Jodisue Brown said about Andy providing the Wells drugs and the Wells was sedating their children. I believe Andy is lying. He's been in their property more than he says. He said, I used to go down there once a while to smoke weed, but I really believe it was more than weed. He said clearly to the panel that he used to see Summer completely naked running around. I wonder if these people were, I hate to say trigger warning, guys, I wonder if they were renting out these little children for sex. I don't know what they were doing, but something was not right. They were starving these children, they were abusing these children, they were molesting these children. No wonder a gag order has been put on the boys, and I'm really, really happy for that. These boys have suffered into a lot of trauma. They've lost their little sister, they lost their parents, which maybe in a way, if this was all true, then thank God that they don't have to see their parents. But if it isn't true, it's just sad that these children have lost everything. I hope they're in better and healthier homes. I hope they get the love and the care that they deserve. I'm sure they will need counseling for the rest of their life. They may need trauma therapy. They may need family therapy. They may be dealing with PTSD, anxiety, depression, maybe other mental illness. And I really hope that Hunter gets his therapy too. Even if, God forbid, he hurted Summer and it was an accident, I still put the blame on Candice because she was providing Hunter alcohol, twisted tea, vaping. The boy did not sleep. While she was standing and busy talking to her mother about plants and flowers, Summer was drowning. Trigger warning, guys. This is really sad. This is one of the worst cases of child negligence, child abuse, predators, sex offenders, drug addicts, meth addicts. Everything was in the neighborhood, and the CPS ignored it. I'm being honest. Because if they weren't aware of it, I wouldn't have used the word ignored it. But according to so many people, they have reported Candice and Dawn Wells to the CPS. The CPS was aware of these children's well-being, and allegedly we heard that the CPS was supposed to come on the 15th to pick the children up on the 16th. Strangely enough, people like that shouldn't be warned that the children are going to be picked up. They waited too long to get those three boys and poor Summer into safety. So I believe that is negligence itself. I was doing a lot of research recently about Tennessee and the CPS systems, and I was so shocked that there's so many children, sadly enough, that die under the CPS's care in Tennessee. Then there's so many cases of human trafficking, sex trafficking, so many, sorry to say out guys, pedophiles, and many other sick people roaming around in those neighborhoods and in Tennessee. So I don't know why the Wells children was put into so much trauma, so much hurt, that the three boys will have to live through for the rest of their life. And on top of that, they will have to grieve for the loss of their sister. I'm not saying that she's dead, but we know how statistic works. Usually if a child is not found in the first 48 hours, the first 24 hours, the case gets really bad. I don't believe that Jodisue Brown was lying about the part when she spoke about Andy providing drugs to the kids. He was contradicting himself a lot in the interview. I can't even call it an interview. An interview is when law enforcement does an interview. It looked like the panel was very lean to him, just asking him regular questions that wasn't even important. They spent maybe the first 10-15 minutes talking about the tree clippers, which I wouldn't have wasted 1 minute of my breath asking that question, because the panel should understand that law enforcement are very professional. The first thing that the FBI and the TBI did when they came into the case was get all the data around the areas. The first thing that they would do too is call the company that sent the tree clippers. They would have checked all the workers who worked that day, when they took their lunch breaks, when they started, when they finished, how close or how far were they near Summer's property. All those things are checked out. So I don't understand why those questions were even asked to Andy. Because when you're interviewing a person, keep as much as information that you have about the case to yourself. Do not give out the main important ones. Those ones, because by telling him such a thing, you could see that he started getting something to talk about and someone to blame. Like saying, I don't know their vehicles and all that, but then no. That is not his business. That is something more for the TBI and FBI. And I'm sure they have done their homework in that part. That is the first thing they will do. They will check who was working in the areas, whether it was a phone company, whether it was the road, if there were roadblocks. That's the first thing actually I did when I started checking this case when Summer went missing. And there was some roadblocks. I just remembered, although it was from a year ago, there were some roadblocks and some highway road work going on, especially in the city of Johnson City, I believe it was. But it wasn't very close to the Wells property at all. So that reminds me, if there was roadblocks and if there was road works being going on around those areas, that should have surely affected Dawn coming from work. And I'm sure the FBI and the TBI knew exactly if he was at work or not. But I don't understand what's taking them so long for arrest to come, and that could be possibly because they still haven't connected the whole puzzle. I believe when it's one or two people involved, like the West, it's more easier to find out. Not more easier, but through word and through people talking and witness, it would eventually come out. But this is more like there are more people involved, I promise you. And the people I'm thinking about is obviously, I'm not going to shy it out. Allegedly, I believe. Let's start with Candice Wells, Dawn Wells, then you have Hunter, you have Allison, who knows some information and is hiding it because allegedly her son was very traumatized when he came home. We heard that clearly from his grandmother, Allison's mother. Allison even got upset, guys, if you remember the interview with JLR. She went inside the house, and I like the fact that JLR kept on talking to, what's her name? Shelley. There was a good thing that he kept on asking her questions because isn't it strange that Shelley, the grandmother, said that the children were being fed drugs too? I just remembered. So we have two people saying the same thing. Jodisue Brown, the neighbor, and Shelley, who is Allison's mother, who introduced Allison to Candice, who has been in that property. And she said she stopped going to the property because she did not like what the Wells were doing to their children. They were giving them drugs and alcohol, that's what she said. Jodisue Brown said alcohol and she added molesting the children. Trigger warning. So this is actually getting very interesting. I really do believe that the children were being given drugs too. Going back to Allison's mother's interview with Molly Golightly and JLR and Bullhorn Betty, we clearly can see that this is not the first person who told us. Shelley told us that back in January, and we have what's her name? Jodisue Brown telling us the same information a month ago. I really got disappointed and annoyed kind of when, what's his name? Andy was with the panel and he said, okay, should I put my super chat or my cash up for the chat people? It just not only annoyed me, guys, it really hurted me to hear that. Because he just proved that he's here not as a good Samaritan, as a neighbor of Summer. It just showed that he's here to collect super chats. You must have heard, yeah, go to YouTube. That's the place you get all the super chats and all the donations. And that just shows that he has no mercy, no empathy. This is really shocking, hurtful, sad that most of the people in the neighborhood knew exactly what was going on, but they just kept it as a normal tragedy that was being normalized to happen there. It's so sad that the victims that suffered was Sama and her brothers. I hope each of and everyone involved in this case, whoever even hid information from law enforcement, I hope they get arrested. I really do hope. I have no mercy for anyone who hurts children. I have no mercy for anyone who puts such burden and trauma on four little children's life. By giving the drugs, if it is true that Andy and Jodisue were giving the parents the drugs, and they knew already that the parents were netheads and waste people, they might as just have opened the children's mouth and fed them with the drugs. Because that's what they did. By giving Don and Candice, providing them, and Andy himself said that he used to go there to smoke weed with them. So Andy, are you sure it was only weed you were smoking, or were you smoking something else with them? You mentioned it twice that you saw someone naked running around. Why didn't you even tell Don and Candice to fix up and to put some clothes on poor little Summer? You have a daughter of your own. I think it's really shameful, really sad what these people were doing to all those children, and letting whatever be done to those little children. Jodisue Brown talks all the time about her children, about her getting threats, her children getting threats, about her being a victim of domestic violence, for her being a victim of her health issues. May God bless her and help her, give her more strength with the health. But she never thinks about that the Wells children were much younger than her children. She never thinks about those four children needed love, needed protection, needed safety. She doesn't care. Neither does Andy. These are all things that have been really hurtful to be watching since it's been 13 months, and all we hear is more sadness and more evidence coming out that Jodisue Brown is trying to tell us that the four children, trigger warning, were fed with drugs and were molested. I hope that the TBI and the FBI are looking closely at Jodisue Brown and Andy B. Andy B is more busy. Instead of explaining about what happened to Summer and the brothers, he laughed out and said, "Shall I put my cash up down?" They all have made this case something for them to collect money and super chats on. And it's really sad. And I've said that before and I'll mention it again. Whoever thinks I get any money out of Summer Moon Utawells' case, or even Sincere and Classic, aka Orin and Awesome West, or any of these things that I upload on my channel, I want you all to know that this is for strictly mental health awareness and for missing children, and to spread the awareness. You will never see a super chat on my name. You'll never see me making live streams, because thank God I work well for my money and I'm doing fine. I would never want to sleep at night having that thought that I am actually making money out of poor victims. All I want is Summer to be found, just like all I wanted was Sincere and Classic to be found. I don't believe any children should be put through this kind of lifestyle, and it is sad when it's always said, see something, say something. Jodisue Brown and Andy kept it away, and they were providing the little children with drugs and letting them get molested. That is according to Jodisue Brown herself, trigger warning. So this is not fair, this is not right, and if any of them are involved, I really hope that they all get arrested. I hope they all all get to feel the pain that they have put these little four babies into. These were all children under 12 years old suffering that life. And Andy was saying, oh, yeah, Summer used to go around naked running around. He has a daughter who's 13 years old. Why didn't, instead of sitting with Candice and Dawn and providing them with drugs and smoking drugs with them, he should have said, put on some clothes on the little girl. I don't believe a single word Andy says. I've been listening to all his BS, sorry to say, and it's just upset me. It's really upset me, and I really hope that the FBI and the TBI are watching and come to an understanding or something, because this guy was allegedly away for 3 weeks. I wonder where he went, what he did, and what he's hiding. And Fred said that he saw him and Jodisue for 3 days, for the first 3-4 days of the search, sitting and checking around and wondering how close law enforcement was getting. Isn't it very interesting that Andy B, the real Andy B, said that he doesn't think that Summer is around the properties at all? It could be one of the two. Either she's there and he's trying deliberately to get her attention somewhere else, or it could be that Summer has been moved out of Ben Hill. He would know since he was away 3 weeks. Grandis would know, aka Candy Hera, because she was away too. And according to Dudley Arjan, who used to work with Dawn, he said Dawn was seen in, was it, I can't remember the place, it was another place, where is it, Nashville, Tennessee or something. He was seen somewhere which was far away from his areas, and he was driving near a gas station. And even apparently Dawn was Benji drinking, and he was up and down on drugs, coming home when he felt like, and he disappeared a while after Summer was missing. So look at how many people were going in and out. Anyone could have moved Summer out of the area. I personally believe that when Candice was sitting in the car and saying, did she move her hand up? And the person said no, and she said, oh, I thought so. I believe that was the moment they were driving Summer out of the yard. Not from the yard, whether it was from the swimming hole, maybe to meet up with Dawn, so that Dawn could go and do the cover-up. Let's not forget, Dawn has said many times he has 7 alibis. Candice has announced she's going down. By the way, where is Candice, guys? We haven't seen her for a couple of months. The last time she was on social media, I remember clearly, is when she was talking to, what's his name, Ernie Shell, and she was promising him that, oh, tomorrow I'll call you and I will tell you everything. And then we're hearing the story too much about Dawn Wells having a shower with Summer. We don't know how true or how false that was, but that has been said many times by Jodisue Brown, by Jose, God bless his soul, and by many others. But it's really strange that Jodisue Brown said that Andy was providing them the drugs and that they were doping the children. I really believe that, because this is the second person who's been saying that. Shelley said that, Hunter's grandmother, and she looked quite genuine when she said that. I do understand that all these people could be throwing each other under the bus, but there is something with the drugs and the children being sedated, because Summer did look like either an overdose happened, and I think I'm the only one who says that, but I really believe that snake theory could be seriously involved, because Candice has a snake tattoo. I've always said that, and that has never sat right with me. She has a snake tattoo on her wrist over here, kind of a bit above where you wear your watch, and she has it on this way. There's a cross, and there's a black snake wrapped on the cross. What I found strange was Candice clearly said, I don't like to go out, because basically it was the 911 operator that said that the mother went out for work. And when she was asked by Ainsley Daniels, she said, I don't go out for work. I'm scared of the bears, snakes, and coyotes. Coyotes. She used what those words. So, guys, if you are scared of a snake, and if you're scared of snakes, why would you have a snake tattoo? That doesn't make sense. Psychologically, that doesn't sit well with me. And that was the first thing that I was researching back in January. I was really deeply looking into the snake theory, and then I saw that she had a snake tattoo. I kept on checking more into that. I checked how Candice looked when she had the interview with Chris McDonough from the interview room, and she's standing near the horse pond. You could clearly see Candice is wearing the white t-shirt, the Mom Patrol t-shirt. She has no tattoos. So she made this tattoo after that interview. So that would say somewhere in July, August, September. And you can clearly see that tattoo in the channel of Candice, where she's basically put her channel down. But I have it in one of my clips. I believe it was like 3-4 months ago. If you go on to my earlier clips, you will see, I believe the title is, Why Does Candice Have a Snake Tattoo On? Wasn't she scared of snakes and bears and coyotes? Something like that I've written. And I made sure to take the picture on, to take the thumbnail on. She was on a channel, so she was doing this, luckily. And when she does this, you see the snake tattoo there. So that is a very interesting thing to check about the snake theory, because I remember, what's his name? God bless his soul. May he rest in peace. Jose said that there was a snake in the Wells shed, and he said that the snake would, all the time when they tried to get the snake would like disappear off. He said that the Wells even called the animal, Candice called the animal rescue team, and when they came, they couldn't even find the snake. It was in the shed, he said. He said that on Justice for All, his first, I think, video clip. So that is very interesting that this is the second time a snake comes into the picture, because I was trying to make a connection with the snake. And then, strangely enough, there's this clip that, it's in one of my clips of Jodisue Brown talking about, she said that Candice would call me to help her to make milk formula for children. She said she has 6 children of her own, and she seemed like she did not know anything how to make milk for children and how to feed children. She said even when it came with, if the children had a cut or accident and they needed plaster or they needed some advice, she would call me for them. And then she said, very interestingly enough, Jodisue Brown says that there's a lot of snakes up there in the terrains. So Candice would call me when she sees a snake because she doesn't know which ones are copperheads, which one are dangerous snakes, and which ones are poisonous and which ones are not poisonous. So look at how many snake things are going around here. You have Candice, who said from the start to the interview people that I'm scared of bears, snakes, and coyotes. Then you have Candice, even in that interview on the 29th of July, the day she changed her name back to Candice Bly, Candice was wearing on a sleeveless blue top, like we all are aware of it. She was a bit sedated or whatever. You could see clearly that Candice did not have a snake tattoo. Then I watched the interview with Chris McDonald, and she did not have a snake tattoo there either. Then I watched when she started her own channel, and guess what? She had a snake tattoo with a black cross, like there's a black horse on her hand, and the snake tattoo is wrapped, the snake is wrapped around the cross. And then you have Jodisue Brown saying that Candice would call me for motherly and parently advice about milk formulas and such things, and she would call me even for me to come and catch the snake and throw out the snake without killing it, because she said some were poisonous snakes and some wasn't. Then you have Jose talking about the snake in the shed. Then you have the tattoo of the snake on Candice's hand, wrapped around her hand. And then you have Candice saying on top of that, I'm scared of snakes, bears, and coyotes. So it's up to us what we make out of it. But in counseling, we do a lot of active listening, and I personally just watch when certain things come up too many times and it does not make sense. If somebody is scared of something, that they have it wrapped around their hand as a tattoo. So God forbid, I wonder if Summer was running around with barely any clothes and without shoes. She was always barefoot, we've heard. What if she was running around, and since Jose said that there was a snake in the shed, that he always seemed to hide himself away, and since Jodisue Brown said that Candice will call her when she sees a snake, I would come and I would throw the snake away if it wasn't dangerous, or kill the snake if it was dangerous. Too many snake tattoos are going around. Snake tattoos, snake in the shed, and Jodisue Brown saying that she would kill the snakes for her, and Summer running barefoot. Any accident could have happened. There were too many nails on the floor, too many broken glasses, and according to Jose and according to Jodisue Brown, there were snakes around those areas. And the last but not least, the last picture we saw of Summer in the car. Summer looked like she could have been bitten by a snake. I personally have seen somebody being bitten by a snake when I was much younger, and you do turn a bit very pale color. It could be anything, guys, but that is what I personally believe, that it could be possible. I'm not saying that's what happened, but there's many possibilities. But whatever it was, it had to be child neglection, child abuse, maybe human trafficking, we don't know. But I hope this matter comes to an end soon. I hope Summer gets the justice that she deserves. I hope her brothers get the justice and the counseling that they deserve. I hope Summer, I pray every night that Summer could be somewhere safe and alive. like they say, wishful thinking. It's a love to wish for the best. God does answer prayers. Miracles can happen. I still believe in that. But the wells are not people to rely on. Neither is Jodisue Brown and Andy. Andy decided to come now and speak up. All the people who come late and try to speak up, I don't trust them. Like Grandis, like Andy B. They all have something to hide. I believe that's the reason the TBI and the FBI is involved. Guys, please look after yourselves. Have a lovely summer holidays. Have a lovely weekend. Drink plenty of water. Look after yourselves. Look after your health. And especially look after your mental health, guys. That is really, really important. We can see there's so many things happening in the world. There's a lot of crimes. There's a lot of foul things, nastiness. And I wouldn't blame all that on mental health, but then a lot of that crime has, most of the crime things when you see, does have to do with people's mental health. When you see serial killers, pedophiles, trigger warning, all these nasty cases that we hear about, you'll always find somebody who's struggling with mental illnesses around in the case. Or people in addiction, like the Wells. I believe in their case it's both mental health illnesses and addictions. Sometimes I wonder if Candice could have just snapped and did something to someone. Because when you look at it in the psychological way, it is possible. I hate to discuss that topic, but if I touch into it a bit, Dawn used to talk about Summer like she was a young lady. We've been hearing so many talk about him having a shower with poor Summer. We are hearing that these children were molested. You have to look at the victimology over there. There is many things that are not right. And if there were so many things that were going on with all these sick, nasty things we hear, and if Summer was sleeping with a mother and father between them in the mattress, even the way Dawn talk about it just sounds very sick, to be honest. Talk about it like it's normal. He said, I'll never forget those words when he says that, oh, Summer would only want me. She didn't want her mother for the first 18 months of her life. That is not normal. Even animals, even human beings, it's always the mother that the children want. So I wonder if Candice Bly herself was being abused by Dawn, and maybe she was scared herself. Because she has, let's not forget, reported Dawn to the courts before, and then she dropped the charges. But remember the letter she wrote to the court? She said that I am afraid for myself and for my children. Don Wells gets violent when he drinks, he beats me, he abuses me. So let's put it this way, let's put our judgment about what we believe about Candice for a side now, and let's think about her as a victim for a second. If she was being abused and domestic violence, and Don can look like a very evil man at times, the way he talks and all. That's my personal opinion, and it's clear to see. So if she was his victim, he could have been. Personally, I'm starting to believe that Don was psychologically, mentally, and physically abusing his wife and all his 4 children, even people who work with him, We've heard from Dudley John. This guy looked like he was a bully, Don Wells. So if Don Wells was a SEX offender, like allegedly we are hearing about his sisters, we don't know if it's the truth or false. Although that happened 40 years ago, we still don't know. But then we are aware of one thing that Don said, that my little sister, who was my little stepsister, I believe it was Jenny, he said when she was 5 years old, I was playing with her things, she was playing with my things. I really don't even want to repeat those things. But we remember it clearly. So this is a nasty old man who found it very normal to be sleeping with his daughter in his bed, saying that my daughter wanted me the first 18 months. So I really don't know. But I just hope that they all get arrested for the child negligence, child abuse, and everything that was going around, and all the traumatizing that these four children have been through. Let's not forget that there was rumors allegedly of Don Wells trying to sell his oldest son, Don Jr., when he was 2 years old, and that Don Jr.'s mother had to go and stop the sale. So we don't know if it's true, but if it's true, then there is a possibility that Don Wells could have tried selling Summer. We know that Candice is, psychologically, when you look at it, she's been just in abusive relationships from the first relationship where she had two children, and her previous husband, Andrew, was abusing the children, like physically. The boy has a brain damage, and that is Candice's two older children. So it looks like Candice is very used to choosing the wrong circle of men, and it definitely has to do with all the drug addiction and all the crimes that are going around in their livelihood and where they stay, and in their social life. It was strange to hear that Dawn, his ex-wife, was it Pam, her name was, used to actually live in Ben Hill with Dawn before he got married to Candice, and apparently it was just a different wife but the same lifestyle. So I believe they all are involved in it, and I believe the whole of Ben Hill know exactly what has happened to Summer, but nobody wants to get involved, either because they are involved themselves, and whatever it is, at the rate it's going on now, if you put decent pressure without being unprofessional with them, I believe they will all turn on each other soon. We can see Jodisue Brown already turning on Andy B and snitching, and Jodisue Brown said exactly the same thing that Allison Harris's mother said too, that the children were being fed with drugs and alcohol. It's just sad. I wish that the law enforcement and CPS came in long before and saved those children. And I just hope that it never happens to any child again. This is no right way for human beings to be treating innocent children that God gave us. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Take care of your physical health, mental health. Life is too short. Love each other, respect each other, look after each other. And let's pray that some solution comes, some results come, that a clean break comes, and that Summer is safe and alive. If not, let's pray that she gets the justice that she and her brothers deserve. Jodisue, Brown, and Andy, if y'all are watching me, I would advise y'all to turn yourselves in with the information you'll have, because I can clearly see that you're hiding something. Guys, take care. Love y'all.